Connecting a 24-volt transformer to a Pavo dial and RGB rope light. Here is what is needed for this tutorial. 24-volt transformer, power cable, electrical wire, Pavo dial, RGB rope controller cable, RGB rope light. Here is a quick overview of the installation process. First we take the power cable and hardwire it to the 24-volt transformer. Then wire the 24-volt transformer to the Pavo dial. Wire the RGB rope controller cable to the Pavo dial. Then wire the RGB rope controller cable to the RGB rope light. Step 1. Wiring the power cable and electrical wires to the 24-volt transformer. Take the power cable. Locate the wires you will be using for positive and negative connection. On the 24-volt transformer, locate the positive and negative connection terminals. In this transformer we will be connecting to the L and N terminals. For this installation we will connect the black wire to the L terminal, and connect the white wire to the N terminal. Use electrical wire. Arrange them where one wire is used for negative connection, and a second for positive connection. On the 24-volt transformer, we will use the far left COM terminal for our negative connection, and use far left V+ terminal for our positive connection. Step 2. Wiring the Pavo dial controller to the 24-volt power supply and the RGB rope controller cable. In order to wire the Pavo dial you have to remove parts of the dial. Pull out the turn dial. Using a flathead screwdriver, gently pop off and remove the front cover. Remove the two screws holding the controller to the bottom case. Pull the Pavo controller out of the bottom case. Flip the controller over to reveal the screw terminals. Notice the 6-port screw terminal near the corner of the controller. This terminal is where we will connect the RGB rope controller cable and electrical wire from the 24-volt transformer together. Before connecting the electrical wire, it is recommended that you pull the wire through one of the side openings on the bottom case. With the electrical wires from the 24-volt transformer, connect the V+ to the positive terminal. Then connect the COM wire to the negative terminal. Take the RGB controller cable and look to see if you have the 4-pin connector. If there is a 4-pin connector end, it is necessary to cut and remove that end. After removing the 4-pin connector end, it is necessary to cut and remove part of the sleeve housing the wires. Be careful not to cut the wires under the sleeve. At this point, it is recommended to pull the end of the RGB controller cable with exposed wire through one of the holes in the bottom case. Wiring the RGB controller cable to the Pavo dial. It is necessary to locate the hot wire. In this installation we are using the blue wire as our hot. Connect the blue wire to the V terminal. In this installation the red wire is controlling our blue lights. Connect the red wire to the B terminal. Then, connect the green wire to the G terminal. Last, connect the brown wire to the R terminal. Using a flathead screwdriver, secure the wires into the terminals. Step 3. Connecting the RGB rope controller cable to the RGB rope light. Take the end of the RGB rope controller cable with the plastic housing. Remove the screws of the plastic housing and pull it apart off the rope light. With the plastic housing removed, This exposes the prongs used to connect to the RGB rope light. With your RGB rope light, if it is required, cut the length you will be using for the installation. After cutting the rope light, check and make sure it is a clean cut, and no wires are touching other wires. When connecting the RGB controller cable to the RGB rope light, you want to insert the cable's prongs into the small holes with the wire, not the larger holes. When examining the rope light and power supply cable, notice the small space from the tops of the rope light and cable. Close to the bottom are the wires for the rope light and prongs from the power cable. Line them up as shown here, and slowly push them together. This technique is how you should connect the two. In the following steps, it is recommended to have the power supply connected to a power source. It is also recommended to have the Pavo dial controller set to white. This will have all the LED lights on. Gently push the controller cable prongs into the RGB rope light until all the LED lights are on. It is not necessary to push the prongs all the way into the rope light. You can now replace the plastic housing to the RGB controller cable, which should now also housing part of the RGB rope light. Also, place an end cap on the other end of the RGB rope light. This concludes our tutorial.